Yo, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. Today I'm going to try a weird experiment. Yes, we're talking about the Nintendo NX again, which everyone does. I do it all the time. We all know it's the big hot thing to talk about. But I wanted to try something a little bit different. A few days ago on Twitter, I put a call out for people to tweet me their responses to what they want from the Nintendo NX. The Nintendo NX is the weird mystery box, Nintendo's new next generation console coming sooner than we expected, kind of killing the life of the Wii U shorter than a lot of us expected, probably Nintendo, all happening around the time Sony and Microsoft are coming out with their small brand new upgrades of their current machines, not true next gen platforms like the Nintendo NX is supposed to be. And because of that, there's been a crazy rumor mill happening on the internet and in the YouTube community as well. It's all been talked about. You obviously know about it. I've talked about rumors many times myself. And it's just this weird scenario where people's need to know what the NX is stronger than almost anything I've ever seen before. As discussed previously 1,000 times, Nintendo is being very strange about it. They're being extremely mysterious, and they're waiting so long to show us this goddamn thing. Tell us what it is. What does it look like? What does the controller do? How much is it going to be? When is it actually coming out? What games are going to be available? What is Breath of the Wild, the brand new Zelda game, going to look like and play like on that? Will it come out the same day as the Wii U version? I mean, there's 1,000 questions surrounding the NX. But because of that, the hype level is insane, and people have been wondering what this thing is. This is where the rumors and the patents and the fake controllers and all of these things come from. So when I put the call out on Twitter for people to tweet me their responses of what they wanted out of the NX, it's a little bit of an experiment just to kind of see and gauge where people truly are with this thing and what it is that people are expecting out of it and what Nintendo can do to meet the needs and the requests and in many cases demands from the gamer, because we all know it's the gamer that demands what something should be, maybe not the company themselves making what they're truly passionate about making. And when it comes to Nintendo, I do think that, yes, they do it from a business mindset to make money, but I also think they're genuinely passionate about it. And they're not the only ones. I don't want to downplay some of the other great companies who are also passionate about making games and platforms as well. But anyway, let's go through a couple of these tweets from you guys, hearing from you guys out there on the internet. I selected a handful of them. There was quite a few, actually, and I just wanted to choose some of the most applicable ones for this experiment in this video to see what it is people are actually wanting and thinking in their heads Nintendo should be giving us with the Nintendo NX. So, SR Jr., again, I heard from him on the other video, the Q&A. I don't know how to pronounce it, but SR Jr., he says, I want a console that has a unique design that stands out, not some bland rectangle. So that one is interesting because what he or she is talking about is the form factor of the NX. And it's the thing that, until my Q&A video yesterday, I never really thought about what the box would look like. I didn't really know if people were thinking about what does the machine itself look like. And it's weird because the Xbox One sort of created this situation where I learned people really sometimes care what the machine looks like. And people say, oh, the Xbox One S is nice because it's not this huge, bulky thing like the Xbox One is. And it's like, yeah, the Xbox One is bigger and more ridiculous than it really needs to be or should be. And that's silly. But to me, it's like, I don't care, because once I have a machine, it just sets below your TV, and then it just sits there. And then who cares what the freaking thing looks like? Like, it could look like a rotting shoe. And it's like, well, this rotting shoe plays awesome games, so I don't care that it looks like a shoe that's been sitting in the mud for 3 weeks. It's just a great console that, once it's plugged into my TV, lets me play great games. So, I mean, yes, it's neat when tech and these devices look sleek and interesting. I do agree with that, but like, I don't really care. I don't think that should be the be-all, end-all. So I just think it's interesting that the Xbox One has really introduced me to this aspect where people care more than I realized about what a machine looks like. And so when it comes to the NX, people are starting to wonder, what is it going to look like? So for SR Jr., he or she seems to really care what the actual machine looks like. Do you care what the machine looks like? I think a lot of people are starting to get to that point. So someone who I've actually interacted with a couple times, very interactive on the channel, Lil Cray to the Bone, he says a couple of things. He tweeted me a few things about what he wants the NX to be. He first says, truly an easy way to communicate with friends, such as friend request. A simple Joe Schmo wants to play X game. I do understand that the ability to communicate with fellow gamers via the online network is important. That's one that I agree with, and so that's something that a lot of people are kind of starting to ask for. He also says, oh, and no loading from app to app, i.e. from Miiverse to settings to activate to activity to notifications. You get the point. It's pretty slow. Now on the Wii U, it is pretty slow. So I understand what he's saying there, because if you're playing a game and you want to maybe go to Miiverse, it literally does have to completely stop what you're doing in the game, and then we've all done it. It comes up to the Miiverse loading screen, which takes about 30 or 40 seconds, and it's like, in reality, 30 seconds isn't a long time, but in gamer time, in gaming time, when you're on your console and you want to multitask a couple of different things at one time, that's pretty slow. When you look at what not only the PS4, but more specifically the Xbox One allows you to do, one of the smartest things they did with their OS, and as they've improved it since it launched, is they have this snap sort of thing where it's almost like it's running every single app and every single thing that the system can do at any one time. It's running it all together. So if at any time you want to go from one thing to another, to the game, to YouTube, to the internet, to buy a game, to load a game, it can do it all very seamlessly. And I do appreciate that. It doesn't make the gaming experience better, but it does make the console experience better. And that's something that Nintendo's been behind on. So little Cray to the Bone has a very good point there. The last thing he says, now from Nintendo, one game I want, because I'm sure most of you will have many more that I want, is Mario Strikers or Football type. So he's looking for another Mario Sports spin-off game. As I said before, that stuff can be great, but I want a Mario Golf. That's the thing that'd get me excited. Also on Twitter, someone else who had a few tweets that they brought up, Mr. All-Star, sorry for mispronouncing, Mr. All-Star, what he or she wants, or it's a Mr., I really want more games. There are some great games on the Wii U, Mario 3D World or Splatoon, but I want more. Because we all want more. We can never be satisfied with just the things that we have, good or bad, we all want more. And I understand that to a degree. He also says, and I want something I don't need, but it would be smart in 2017, a 500 gigabyte console. 32 gigabyte was too small, it would be great. Now that's an interesting one because at this point, we don't know that it's only going to be a 32 gig hard drive or console for the NX. We don't know any of that stuff. I mean, it could be a 500 gig model. And I think that's the point he's making, is that it's going to be 2017 when the NX comes out. 500 gigabytes should be the standard. I agree with that. Now, when we talk about the 32 gigs, everyone brings that up. And it is a good point. In the realm of all tech, 32 gigs isn't enough space, especially in the gaming world. However, if you have a Wii U and you've downloaded a lot, you realized, and I don't have the tech knowledge, as you know, to really get into the defined details of the numbers here, but however Nintendo has compressed all of the stuff that you can download on the machine, you can fit a lot of Nintendo's products and Nintendo's downloadable content through the eShop, and for digital games you're purchasing, you can fit a lot of those on the 32 gig model of the Wii U. So what I think Nintendo did was they have created their data for all their downloadable stuff in a way that scales it to make a 32 gig console kind of feel like the 500 gigabyte counterpart an Xbox One is. And I can tell you that because I have a 500 gig Xbox One, I have a 32 gig Wii U, but I have an insane amount of actually, I'm going to use the PlayStation 4 because the PlayStation 4 fits stuff better than the Xbox One. So my 500 gig PS4 compared to my 32 gig Wii U, I have about the same amount of stuff on both consoles, and I haven't really gotten too much to the point where I was pushing to the end of the limits of those, except for when I started downloading Fatal Frame and then the Xenoblade packs on my Wii U. That's when I had to get an external hard drive. But until I put a full game like Fatal Frame on my system, and then the size of all the Xenoblade packs, which was huge, until I put those on my Wii U, I wasn't anywhere near coming to the limit of my Wii U, and I had a lot of stuff on it. So we have to remember that Nintendo, they use their own proprietary stuff to make everything sort of, I think, smaller file size than it would be on a PS4 and Xbox One. That being said, I think the NX is going to be so different from the Wii U, such different architecture, that we're going to need a 500 gig or a 1 terabyte storage space on the NX. So I completely agree with what you're saying there, Mr. All-Star. That's a very, very good point. He says two more quick things. He says, oh, and I would like to see better marketing. Definitely something that we all know that Nintendo needs very, very badly. I've said that many times, so that's a very good point. And I really want to see a Nintendo TV come back, but in a new form. That's an interesting one. Nintendo TV was a great idea, but I think the Wii U just wasn't the system to actually handle it or do something with it. And initially, I want to say we don't need anything like that because I don't think gaming consoles have to provide those things. But when I think about what gaming consoles do provide, and honestly, I mean, we use all three consoles for Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff. We use those a lot, and YouTube. So when I really think about it, that's a huge aspect of what the consoles are offering nowadays. And I don't need that to make a console good. I just need the gaming to be good. But it's a good point. So I would agree that having some sort of service that is unique to Nintendo's console, which is what Nintendo TV tried to be, I think that that's a good thing to have for the NX. If it could take that to the next level and be successful with it, people would like it, people would buy into it, and therefore more people would be more interested in picking up an NX and experiencing it and playing it. So I have to agree with that. Also a pretty good point. Someone who I know very well, and hopefully if you're following me, you're following the podcast that I do every week, The Juice is Loose. Fellow Juice is Looser, Gaming with Me, Robert from the channel Gaming with Me, excellent channel, please subscribe. He says, I want a mainline Animal Crossing title. Nice and simple. And I'm not an Animal Crossing guy, but Animal Crossing is huge. So, Robert, you make a really good point. That's a game that a lot of people want. No one wants the board game Amiibo Festival crap. No one really wants that stuff. I know why Nintendo made it the way they did, but it wasn't the time to do it. And there was no hope for that game, unfortunately. So, you know, if you and other people are Animal Crossing fans, of which there are millions, Nintendo would be smart to make a main Animal Crossing game. On Twitter, Brett Jack Flintoff says OS and online need to feel snappy. I roll my eyes and sigh every time the Miiverse loads. Really noticeable in Mario Maker. Totally agree, and that goes back to the previous tweet from somebody who basically said, yeah, we need a faster OS and loading system. Moving from app to app can't be slow and cumbersome. It can't feel like it's 2008 when you're trying to do a bunch of things on your console. So that's a very good point. A couple of people brought that one up. Jeff Edmonds says, I just want a next-gen GameCube-style console, a system that has a wireless controller and gets Nintendo back to basics. That's a huge one. There's a lot of implications with that tweet, and there's a big conversation happening there because are we at the point where Nintendo should be innovating still and making weird controllers and doing unique gaming ideas, or are we at the point where we just want Nintendo to go back to making a very comparatively powerful console, just a regular controller, no fancy smancy stuff, and just make it the basic thing? There are pluses to both, and I know people who are good friends of mine and people who I associate with online and on YouTube who are in both camps. People who are like, please make another unique controller. Please continue the wacky ideas because it makes Nintendo who they are and it makes gaming better. And then there are people who are like, I don't want any of that crazy shit. I just want another Super Nintendo or a Nintendo 64 that's a powerful console with a regular controller that makes amazing, beautiful games. And it's interesting when you see how much of that there is. And there were a couple of tweets like this, and I don't even know if the next few I have are like that. But I think I kind of should have included more like this because it shows that there's a larger conversation to happen there. And when it comes to the NX, that's probably, to me, the biggest mystery. Is it a regular basic console, or are you doing something crazy with it again? Kimishima and Reggie have talked about the uniqueness of the NX, and it's a new way to game. So that makes me think there's something going on there. But my personal theory is that it's not going to be another controller. It's not going to be a motion thing. It's not going to be a thing what snaps apart and there's like 17 different devices that you use to create a new controller every time you're playing a game, like everyone is starting to talk about now. And I don't think it's the Eurogamer thing where it's a portable and you pull the controllers off of the side and you do this stuff. I don't think it's any of that. What I think that they're doing when they talk about new way to play with the NX is potentially it's a new way to interact. I think it's almost a social thing. I think that they're going to try to take the social networking aspect of gaming and of media today and integrate that into the NX platform and make that change the way gamers interact with themselves, with other gamers, and with the games itself. Not so much a weird controller or a Miiverse thing or whatever. I think that that's what they're doing. It's some sort of social interactive aspect. I don't think it's necessarily the way you're controlling the game. And that's interesting to me, and I think that even plays into the whole, maybe it's a console and a handheld all together. That's, to me, part of the whole social aspect, and they want you to go out and meet with people with your handheld version and like a Street Pass thing. So many ideas going on there. So I think it's interesting that Jeff Edmonds gets right to the point. He just wants a regular basic controller and a basic console. And as much as I love Nintendo's innovation, and I do want them to continue that, if they did a back to basics console with the NX, I would not be upset. I would still be very excited for that, because I feel like Nintendo could use like a reset period where they stop with that stuff. They just get real mean about it, and they're like, we're just going, boom, here's our console, here's our controller, here's a bunch of great, beautiful games that you've like never seen them look as good as this before. And I think that could be pretty cool. So it'll be interesting to see. Hashtag make Pokemon great again. That's a very interesting name. It looks like make Pikmin great again. Maybe it's Pikmin and not Pokemon, but I think that's a Pokemon as avatar. Anyway, hashtag make Pokemon great again says physical game, physical controls, powerful enough to play Fallout or the like, gimmick non-existent or optional. So someone else who says, kind of like Jeff Edmonds, that he kind of wants something that's a little bit basic. He doesn't mind a gimmick as long as it's not forced, like the way some people with the Wii U didn't mind the gamepad if the Pro Controller was included in the box. I agree with that, even though I love the gamepad. And so this is someone else who's kind of like, just make a powerful system that can play the third-party ports. The reason I think he or she brings up Fallout is because that's a way to say, it's another way to say what I always say, which is relevant third-party games that release alongside the counterparts of the PS4 and Xbox One versions. And that's why I think he brings that up. Physical games, yes please. Going back to the rumor that it might be digital only. Get out of town with that. We want physical games, and I think Nintendo knows that. Physical controls, I don't really know what he's getting at there, but either way, that's a very interesting idea. I do appreciate that stuff. Just a few more here. I think it's Cash77, Cash or Cache. I don't know how you're supposed to say that, actually. I always say Cash. Cash77, I want a Metroid Prime 4, and I want them to bring a new idea, but that is useful and doesn't require much attention to apply. So I appreciate the tweet, and yes, I want more Metroid, whether it's a Metroid Prime 4, which I don't think we'll ever get, or a brand new Metroid console game. I want it. I need it. I've said this before. I think Nintendo is working on it. I like the idea that you're like, I want them to bring a new idea, so you want some new spin on it. But when you say a new idea that's useful but doesn't require much attention to apply, I think what you're getting at is don't make it, a weird controller for the NX, and then make that weird controller force an awkward way to play the game into a new Metroid. The way some people feel Other M forced the Wii remote and the pointing and the D-pad and stuff, and I agree with some of those issues with Other M. And there's an element of that I agree with, but there's a huge element that makes me a little bit worrisome, because I don't want gamers to be too lazy to try the new ideas Nintendo's trying to do. And unfortunately, I think that's something Nintendo runs into a lot when they make a Wii remote or when they make a gamepad, is it does require a whole new way to play and a whole new way to pay attention to how you're controlling the game. And I do think that certain gamers, and I'm not saying this is you, Cash, but certain gamers can be too lazy. Like, I don't want to pay attention to a second screen. I don't want to touch it to move things around. I just want to sit on my ass and just blah. And I do too a lot of the times, but I'm not going to downplay how cool it is to interact with your games in a totally different way when it's done right. And sometimes it is not done right, and Nintendo has sometimes not done it right. But sometimes they do. And I think that if they wanted to implement the new control style of the NX into a brand new Metroid game, if they did it right, like the way they did with Metroid Prime 3, for example, that would be great. Doing it the wrong way, which I arguably is the Other M way, I don't want that. So it'll be interesting to see. Everyone says Metroid Prime 4. That's all anyone thinks about with Metroid, man, is Metroid Prime, Metroid Prime. And guys, I don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get a totally different Metroid, but it'll be interesting to see. Brandon Kelly, honestly, no gimmicks. Someone else who doesn't really want gimmicks. I think that's very interesting. And then finally, this is the last one I brought up, and I think this is really funny. DS1889 Cold Blooder says he just wants the damn reveal so these rumors can stop. And a very good point, because the whole genesis of this was the rumor thing. So what can we take away from all of these tweets? Well, there's a couple of people who are on the same boat. A lot of people say I don't want necessarily the gimmicks and all these things, but ultimately there's a lot of ideas going on there. And if I would have done the other tweets, this is already like a 20-minute video. If I would have done the other ones, it just would have been a whole different thing. So what I think we're learning is a lot of people have a lot of different ideas from what they want out of the Nintendo NX. Some people want Mario Strikers, some people want Animal Crossing, some people want Metroid, some people want Metroid Prime, some people want Fallout and third-party games. So it's hard to please everybody, that's definitely something that I think is happening here. And I've talked about it before when I made my video saying, could the NX possibly meet the crazy demands and expectations of the internet and of gamers based on all this mystery? And I think that Nintendo's created a little bit of this bubble by waiting so long and teasing us with it. And like, they're just being so mysterious. It's like, at this point, I don't even need them to show us the thing. I just need them to tell us when they're going to show it to us. They need to say, hey, this is the time you can tune in and we'll finally show this to you. Like, it's like, Nintendo, do you want to sell us your product? Do you want to sell us your brand new next generation machine? Well, then show it to us, because we want to buy it, but we need you to show it to us. And when you wait, you get stuff like this where you've got 100 different people who want 100 different things out of your next machine. And the longer you wait, the more people are going to come up with different ideas. And it's why one day a rumor says the machine is going to have 78 different controllers, and the next day the rumor says the machine is going to be more powerful than a BMW. And then the next day, it's going to be something that can transport you invisibly from Connecticut to China. And it's like, people are just going to keep making a brand new version of the NX every freaking day. And more rumors and articles and NeoGAF forums and Reddit posts are going to create more things that, yes, keep people interested in the NX, but ultimately are going to make it so that no one's happy when we finally see it. So this is a conversation we've all had. I've had it. You've heard me talk about it. You've talked about it. I'm beating a dead horse. I just wanted to show a couple of tweets from you guys to give a voice to the everyday gamer, to all these people who are on the internet every day looking at all the posts, talking about the rumors, talking about what they want and what they need out of the NX. And for people to be like, maybe realize, wow, everyone wants something different, with the exception of the gimmick thing. People seem to not be into that. But other than that, everyone wants something different. How is Nintendo or anyone going to be able to please everybody? And the answer is you can't. So Nintendo, hopefully you're ready to show us this darn system very soon. I want to be excited for it. Everybody wants to be excited for it. Hopefully everyone gets a little bit of a taste of what they want out of it. But I don't know, man. We'll have to see when Nintendo finally shows us this thing. So this was just an experiment. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun to get some answers and responses. Thank you guys for tweeting me your responses for what you want out of the Nintendo NX. I guess we'll see soon if Nintendo's actually listening. So that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will catch you guys next time on another video.